Hi, I'm Andrew Molnar, the author of Bodies of Light, Breaking Through the Spiritual Glass Ceiling to Embody Our Greatest Potential. For over 3 decades, I've been on a conscious spiritual journey, initiated by a life-changing health crisis in college. Since healing myself, I devoted my life to embodying my greatest potential and helping others do the same. As part of this journey, I enjoy leading presentations like this program. I'm glad you're joining me. So, let's start with the question. What is the greatest vision you can think of for yourself? If you're like most people, this might include things like vibrant health, joyful relationships, abundant wealth, a fulfilling career, a loving family, maybe a peaceful world. For decades in my personal life, I've held the vision of living a life of peak physical health, abundant emotional joy, and greatest service to others. But what if there's an even greater vision than what we've been taught by our modern culture? A vision that involves a limitless potential beyond our earthly pursuits. Though it may sound outrageous, what if this vision has been proven to be a reality by people who've lived before us and is supported by modern science? Now, you won't hear about this vision in our mainstream media, including the vast majority of entertainment options, though there are a few exceptions. I believe this is because most people in power throughout the centuries, including religious and political leaders, were at best ignorant of this vision, or, at worst, deliberately kept the masses from knowing it. That's because there is a vast power inherent in this vision, a power that would inexorably cause us to unshackle ourselves from those who have wanted to control us for their own gains. The good news is that despite this censorship, such a vision has existed for thousands of years, with hints of it throughout all the world's major religions. And traces of this vision are popping up like green shoots in a number of places today. For 3 decades, I'm intuitive that there's much more to human potential that is currently manifesting in this dimension. I've dedicated much of my life to exploring this possibility. This has taken the form of right brain exercises of exploration, like prayer and meditation, and it's also occurred through thousands of hours of left brain investigation and scientific inquiry through countless books and many articles. This exploration has led me to facts and possibilities that have at times shocked and befuddled me, but it's always inspired me on the path. So, what is this vision? Simply put, ascending into higher realms of consciousness and the transfiguration of our physical bodies into bodies of light. Now, that might seem like a lot. It certainly was for me at first. Like many of you, I have a stubborn inner critic, which at times felt some skepticism around what I've discovered. A part of this doubt is a question I've repeatedly asked myself. Why does this vision ultimately matter? What is the relevance of such a lofty ideal amidst a busy world of deadlines, childcare, career moves, illnesses, injustices, environmental challenges, economic survival? Well, a simple but profound saying from the Bible's book of Proverbs gives the answer. Without a vision, the people perish. In other words, without idealistic visions to move and stretch us, we can easily wither and die, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and eventually physically. On the contrary, great visions have the power to guide and inspire us, both as individuals and as a society. The grander the visions, the more we are stretched, both consciously and subconsciously. A prime example of this is the 18th century vision of America's founding fathers, which has led to a world that is more free and prosperous than our distant ancestors could have dreamed. The more we are stretched by a great vision, the greater chance of accelerating our evolution, both individually and as a human race. This is illustrated by one of my favorite somatic exercises, which I invite you to try with a partner. One person, the leader, stands up and raises one arm parallel to the ground. They then ask a second person, the volunteer, to walk through the arm, the obstacle, keeping their focus on it as they do so. The volunteer usually struggles to push through the arm. Now for a second time, the leader raises their arm and asks the volunteer to do the same thing, but this time focusing not on the arm, but rather on the wall beyond the arm. Without fail, the volunteer blows through the arm much more easily the second time. Their power increased when their focus wasn't on the obstacle, but well beyond to the vision of where they were aiming. Their greater vision enabled the greater power to achieve their goal more easily. Now, beyond this simple exercise, I've seen the power of vision in my decades as both a director of and a consultant to nonprofit organizations. Inevitably, organizations who've had a compelling and inspiring vision achieved far greater success than those that didn't. Unfortunately, despite our material progress, we face a world today that too often feels like it lacks a compelling vision for us as individuals and society. Countless people seem lost, suffering from a host of mental and emotional illnesses. Our traditional institutions, religions, governments, medicine, businesses, seem to be failing humanity. For thousands of years, these institutions have fostered limited visions in themselves and in us. Too often, we've been made to think too small of ourselves, our fellow man, and the universe that holds and surrounds us. And while our modern societal models have brought some beneficial progress for humanity, this limited vision has brought us to a dangerous place in our relationships with the earth and with each other, a place of potential perishing. I sense this is because as we increasingly meet our material needs, an increasing percentage of humanity is looking to fulfill the higher need of self-actualization. Psychologist Abraham Maslow's famous hierarchy of needs illustrates this well. The needs of self-actualization are largely missing from the institutions and paradigms that have served us for many centuries. Albert Einstein reminded us that we can't solve problems with the same kind of thinking we used to create them. In other words, we can't save ourselves and the world today with the worn-out tropes, limited goals, fear-based thinking, or glass ceilings of the past. But there's hope. Spiritual movements of the past whisper to us a new way of power and healing for ourselves and for our troubled world. A way forward that is beyond anything many have dreamed possible. Suppressed for centuries, this whisper has recently been joined by an unlikely ally, science. This in turn has allowed us to hear this vision through both our intellectual minds as well as our intuitive hearts. My book and this series is about amplifying that whisper into a clarion call for reaching for all that we can truly be. Indeed, what I believe we are created for, embodying our greatest healing and potential, unimaginable beauty and power, and the great beyond. Now, I've organized this series into 12 episodes. In the next one, I explore the latest science of quantum physics, which is significantly different from the materialist Newtonian worldview through which most of us view the world. I then spend episodes 3 through 7 exploring the fascinating history of this subject through the lens of humanity's sacred traditions. Countless examples over the centuries reveal the incredible possibilities hinted at by the discoveries of modern quantum physics. In episodes 8 and 9, I provide a broader context using the concept of theosis, and I detail examples of the extraordinary human capacities we've seen through the modern human potential movement. This movement is an example of our rapidly changing cultural paradigms, which I also briefly touch on. And finally, in episodes 10 through 12, I share specific guidance for those wishing to pursue these ideas in their own lives. In the next episode, I'll begin to explore our incredible potential through the lens of quantum physics.